No one knows that you caught that ball wrong.
You see that ready step, and that's why he caught that ball.
Footwork, not glove work.
Fielding, catching, throwing. You're doing it wrong. Let's find out why.
Welcome to the DSPN Softball Central podcast, your comprehensive look into the world of fast-pitch softball.
So in softball, offense wins games, defense wins championships. Every player wants to level up. But how do you actually do it? Our guest has the answers. He's the expert behind Level Up Fast Pitch, Coach Jonathan Howard. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So the first thing I wanted to ask you, what is the single most common fundamental error that you see players making in fielding, catching, and throwing?
One of the most common errors that creates inconsistency is pulling of the head when fielding ground balls. I think that's a big one.
Yeah, that is okay.
This episode is sponsored by Ryan Contractors Incorporated. RCI is celebrating 14 years of being your go-to commercial construction general contractor. Visit their website at rciamerica.com for more information.
All right, Coach. So big question. I don't know if you get it a lot, but how did you get started doing the fast pitch lessons?
From my daughter, actually, maybe 10 years ago when she started playing softball. Knew nothing about it. Sat on the sideline for her first couple of years, and as she kept playing, I got more into it, and started coaching, and it kind of just went on from there. It became a passion of mine to help the youth achieve their goals, and overcome not just the physical but also the mental aspects of the game.
So was it a question of her playing and you're going, I don't like the way they're doing it. They're doing it wrong. I know I could teach that better.
I don't think it was so much on the technical and mechanical aspects of things, because I think my knowledge was very limited then. But I think it was more of the mental aspect. Girls being engaged, setting expectations so that they can achieve their goals. I think those are the things that made me kind of step on the field that I saw may have been lacking, or could have been a different way or better way of doing it.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. You talk about having you step onto the field. Tell us a little bit about your coaching career from rec ball to a travel ball coach. And it sounds like your daughter was part of a driving force, but also, your desire for excellence. And just tell us a little bit about how that kind of progressed for you.
My coaching started with my daughter. I think it was just that desire of when you do something, be the best at it. That should be what we're always shooting for, is to be the best. And so obviously, being a parent, you want the best for your kids. So I had to throw myself in and learn and put myself around people that knew more than me. She remembers when I'm sure our first day of quote pitching lessons. Wasn't much pitching lessons. It was more YouTube and yelling. But that's one that she never forgets.
Well, that's great, because it's interesting that you said, a lot of people say University of YouTube, and and surrounding yourselves with people that know a little bit more. And now you've become one of the premier softball coaches here in Temescal Valley and in the Inland Empire.
So are you a California native? Were you
Yes.
born here, or? Yeah, you are. That's what I thought. So what else makes you happy? What makes you tick besides the fast pitch stuff?
Gosh,
Any other passions?
it seems like my whole life is surrounded around that. I would say just a family over everything. I mean, I think that's always been the priority, family time. I think one of my other passions is, especially with youth, like leadership, helping guide and teach them how to be leaders, what it means to be a leader, how to lead from example. That's my passion. I think just providing service and seeing
Right.
people, reaching or accomplishing their goals.
What is the athletic ready position, and why do so many players struggle to get into it before the pitch?
Yeah, could you just kind of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I think why they struggle, I think it's a lot of the younger athletes that struggle with it. I think there's a lot of things that they may not exactly be comfortable with, just because they're not comfortable and confident with the game yet. And I think that's why when you see girls as they get older and they get more confident, you see anything from a batting stance to a catcher's position to a fielder's position, a glove position on a fielder. You see those things evolve as they get older. And I think as they get more comfortable, they start to make some of those changes. So I think ready steps is one of those, is that you may have someone take a 1-2 ready step, you may have someone take a hop. I can tell you a lot of the younger girls aren't very confident with making doing a hop. Or maybe it could be that they're new to the game, they feel like, oh, that looks silly. So I think you have some barriers there, that in time, as they get around more experienced players and they see this is how it's being done, rather than maybe they feel like they're the odd person out. As you see girls at a higher level of playing, you see that they all do it. And they pretty much all have a variation of doing it the same. But I think that's because they're constantly in that environment where it's done and that's the expectation, and it doesn't feel awkward at that point to them.
Understood. So like some people call it the prep step or the ready position. In rec ball, the parents help a lot. It's softball ready. Be softball ready.
I had a little something to add into that. Last night, the third baseman, I believe it was it Roja?
Muncie.
Muncie. He did a ready step right before he made an excellent catch last night. And, we were sitting there with our daughter and we're like, hey, did you see that ready step? And that's why he caught that ball. So it does go from travel ball all the way up to the big leagues. And so it's great to see it out there.
It's an important aspect of it for sure.
I think it's one of those things where sometimes, with the younger girls, you can tell them a lot of times, but it's another thing when they execute and they say like, oh wow, I see the benefit. That helped me to do this or that. I think that's where you can get them to be more confident in it. I think until then, sometimes they can be a little hesitant for change.
Yeah. So that kind of leads me into the next question as far as like your philosophy on whether it's the glove hand out in front or the glove and shuffle approach. So I know you see a lot of girls with their hands out or, glove in the dirt or glove in the dirt shuffle. So what's your philosophy on that as far as like the infielder? What's their ready position?
My preference is glove forward, palm forward, glove down, eliminating variables so that things are cleaner and more precise, less work to do. I think one thing that's not preached enough when it comes to fielding is footwork, not glove work. It's always
Mm.
feet first. So if your glove is low and your feet get you there, then you're in position to make a play.
That's a great explanation about that, and I agree with you. I like the palm forward and always being ready when the glove's down. It might bounce off your chest. It might not go in your glove, but it's not going through the 5 hole.
Yeah,
So
yep.
Mhm. And then our next question is, this is a little bit of a loaded question because I know there's a lot of ways and a lot of things that go into it, but what is your philosophy or how do you teach an outfielder to catch a fly ball? Maybe your top, three things that are important because I know there's a lot that goes into that.
Okay, I would say the first thing would be learning to open their drop step. I think that's the first thing, because that's the only thing that's going to stop them from getting burned by balls. So
Right.
it's a tendency of wanting to come forward because they see a ball coming from the infield. So I would say the first thing is learning to open and have it, and learning a drop step. Both to the right and to the left side, being able to open up and turn their hips. I see at the younger age a lot of girls have trouble running, sprinting, after opening their hips. They want to run sideways. It's hard for them to get their chest towards the fence, towards a home run fence, and actually sprint with their head turned. So I think even just working on little things like that, I think so that they get used to sprinting while tracking the ball, and opening it. I would say the other thing is, tell my girls, get your face under the ball on a fly
Right.
ball.
That's yep.
A lot of kids like to catch the ball away from them. It's more, I think, a kind of a safety or a fear thing where they position their body so that they can catch the ball on the outside of their body, versus being willing to get underneath the ball, and more centered with the ball. The hardest thing and the last thing that I personally feel that girls learn to do well is trap fly balls.
That was always the thing that I was told. It's like you get under it and just pretend it's going to hit you right in the nose, and then put your glove up and catch it. If you can get your face under it, you can catch it.
Yeah.
I would say also one of the things I see sometimes in the 12U and 14U, which you see coaches trying to reinforce it, but running with your glove tucked and just getting to the ball and running with the glove tucked. And so anytime you're on the field, whether you're running to your position or lining up, you should always have that glove tucked.
Players that want to improve, their speed on throwing from third to first, they get the ground ball, and it could be a lollipop, and they know they want it to have a stronger throw. And then also for outfielders, where like the center fielder wants to be able to get that thing in on a one hop to the catcher. What are some drills, or what do you go over with these girls that are trying to get that quick throw and that long throw?
I think two things. I think the first thing is footwork. So it's going to be, where are you at the time that you're receiving the ball? If you're catching or receiving the ball in a bad position, then it's going to take you longer to make a throw, or it's going to be a less accurate throw. So I think all of that just comes back to the basics of footwork, creating angles as you're approaching the ball. So we're trying to do part of our throwing mechanics, I guess you can say, as far as creating angles, getting your feet set while you're
Right.
receiving that ball for your throw. So I think that's going to be a big one, because if we're not in the right place, we can't get power or momentum. So we want our goal is to have momentum going towards our target as we're receiving. Of course, that's not always going to be the case. Balls that are hitting gaps or things like that, it could take us off that path of our target. But when we can, it's just consistently doing that. So I think with outfielders, I think it's going to be a matter of them learning to get deep, not
Right.
not not timing a ball, like not meeting a ball at its spot, but being able to anticipate where that ball is going to be and creating momentum in the direction of the base that you're throwing. And for infielders, I think it just purely comes down to working mechanics. Well, footwork obviously first, because again, if our feet aren't in the right spot, um, and aren't on time, and we're not positioning our body correctly, it's going to make a more difficult throw for us. So I know even when we're practicing, I see that sometimes, and it accounts for a lot of, I would say, majority of the bat throws is going to be footwork and timing. Other than that, I think mechanics, working on transfers. I see a lot of bad throws due to transfers, whether it's the timing
Mm.
or it's poor transfer. And then everything else is rushed because the transfer isn't clean. So then it's like I'm playing catch up while I'm trying to make that throw. I'm trying to get my body in the position while I'm trying to make the throw, and that's where we see a lot of bad throws.
Right. And in softball, unlike baseball, you have so much less time to recover just from a simple transfer.
Yeah.
In baseball, they're running 90 feet. These girls are running 60 feet. So a little bobble, and the girl is probably going to be safe at first. So
Yes.
it's the mechanics of it all. That transfer, I think, is key to any good throw.
Yeah. Definitely.
Also, and this next question I call all about the glove. Coach Jonathan, tell us, what do you recommend for? Do you recommend the same glove for if a player plays both infield and outfield? Do you suggest switching that glove? And then I have a follow up question after that.
I think if they play both infield, outfield, it really depends on how much money the parents want to spend. If they don't want to spend a lot of money, I think you go with something like a 12-inch glove, which should suffice for both. I think if you're outfield, you're looking at 12 and a half, maybe a little longer. Infield, I think for a lot of the older girls, they want to stay below 12.
And then what do you recommend? What's the best way to break in a glove? I know there are some services that, I mean, it can be a little expensive to send it out and have them kind of break in a glove. But what are some of your recommendations that to break in a new glove?
But they have a lot of different products, hot glove products, that helps it more manageable, makes it easier to break in a glove. But I mean, you can just catch with the glove and break it in. Um, Obviously, they have the mallets, like the softball, baseball mallets that you can use as well to help kind of build the pocket. And then other than that, you kind of just work from the bottom of the palm up into the pockets so you don't get creases in the palm, because those can be kind of irritating or uncomfortable. But other than that, I think just them playing catch with the glove, can break it in. Some of the gloves have longer break in times than other though. So some of the more expensive gloves that are going to be more durable and last longer are going to have sometimes a longer break-in period.
And I think you also recommend that whenever the glove is stored, you have it with a softball or a baseball in it and wrap it correctly.
Y-
Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
The next question I have for you, we pretty much covered as far as the footwork and the hand to glove transfer. But is there a drill that you like to do for infielders transfer and then for a catcher's transfer? They're similar but different.
Yeah, I think them just working on lots of reps of receiving a ball in and going palms away to pulling their elbows through their transfer and getting used to. I think with fielding, um, it's going to be a couple of things. It's trying to be consistent when you receive a ball of that ball hitting the same place in your glove every single time. So that way your transfer is more consistent. If we find the ball rolling up our palm, up our pocket, creating a ramp, and the ball's all over the place moving around in our glove, obviously that's going to affect our transfer. So I think the first thing is taking pride in where the ball is hitting in my glove every single time I field a ball, and that's going to give me a higher percentage chance of having a clean transfer versus me trying to find a ball at different spots every single time. So some of my favorite drills is just that, them working from their knees and just working head sinking when they receive a ball into their palms away into their transfer just over and over and over and over. Like glove work, I think there's no substitute for it. I think I mean you can take live balls all day, but it's not going to improve you unless you're doing the little things. And so
Hmm.
those little things being like having great glove work, having great footwork, having good transfers, clean transfers, and those are the things that equate to having being a smooth, fluid player.
And then, you're one of the in my opinion, best catching coaches in the Inland Empire.
Premier.
Wh- Premier.
No,
eh,
I'm agreeing with
yeah.
you. I'm agreeing with you.
What do you focus on when coaching a new catcher? Where do you usually start?
I think the first thing that comes in is throwing. I think that becomes like the very first thing. So I think I've had several of those lessons where you go into catcher lesson and you end up not working actual catching. It's more of throwing mechanics and getting the throwing mechanics right. Just because without that, if they're throwing improperly, they're gonna be at greater risk for injury, and so they won't be behind the plate much if that's not corrected. That's usually the first thing is their throwing mechanics. Are their throwing mechanics sound or not? And then after that, it's going to be their footwork for their throw, that they understand their footwork in the sequence of their body motion, their foot between their footwork and their transfer and their throw, so that they understand synchronizing those things. And I think the third thing after that would be receiving a ball, just receiving a pitch. I'm learning to receive a pitch in versus going to get the pitch to pull it back to throw it.
I don't know if you got this question before or not. I'm sure there's been parents that come up and ask you, but eh, say there's a girl in 6U that is learning to show interest, because a lot of 6U girls, they're out there and they're twirling their hair and stuff, but you get this one girl that is just like got game face on the whole time, and the parents see it, and they bring the girl to you when she's getting ready to go into 8U. The question is, can you see the potential of a player from the first lesson? Like, yeah, this kid's got something. She might be able to go places. She'll definitely be good in 8U. Is there something that you see in somebody, whether it's a gut feeling or just something they're doing mechanically that you wouldn't have taught for another 2 years that they're doing correctly?
Yeah. Yeah, you can definitely see that in some kids. You can just see that it's a lot of what they do naturally applies. And so you definitely can see that. I can think of a few that I've seen like that. I used to get the question when I used to do a lot of pitching lessons. I used to get the question like, "Can you see if my daughter's a pitcher? Can you look at her and see if she's a pitcher?" And it's always the same thing I tell them. It's like she is, but it depends how bad she wants it.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I'm a firm believer that anyone can. Some may have to work harder than others, and so as long as they're willing to do that and put in the time. I used to when someone would ask for a pitching lesson and it was their first lesson, I actually used to always try to scare them out of doing it, and so I would always just tell them straight up. I was like, it's hard, it's difficult, and you're gonna suck for a long time before you're ever good. you know. And then so if they were willing to after that say like, yes, I still want to do it, because there's just so much effort that has to go into it, and there's so much failure involved, in the beginning, or we can call it learning involved in the beginning. I felt like I had to give them a realistic expectation of what they're going to experience, so that way they're approaching the whole process and anticipating that I'm going to have to do a lot of work. I'm going to have to work hard at this in order to be successful.
Every parent that puts their kid in 6U softball and they look at him like, "Oh, yeah, she's D1 material, 6U, she's ready to go." It's all about putting in the work, right? They could come see you for a lesson once a week, and if that's the only time they're doing the pitching, it's really not gonna improve, you know?
Yeah,
And then you probably can't move on to the next thing that you wanna teach because they haven't worked on the last lesson at home to try and get those mechanics or whatever you were teaching, that day, whether you were trying to teach them a drop ball or rise ball or whatever. Um, so yeah, practice is a pain in the neck, and it's hard.
yeah,
And if you wanna play, that's what it's gonna take.
Well, I would say also on that aspect of things, all positions, but particularly pitching, is like being mentally strong, how you deal with adversity. I think, equally into putting in those reps, there's just that strong part of the mental game. Jonathan, do you have any feedback on that part of it?
yeah. I mean, it's definitely it's challenging, and sometimes you find kids that already have the mental capacity for those ups and downs, and then you have a lot of kids too that also struggle with the ups and downs. And one of the things that I feel that holds girls back the most when it comes to playing the game is is fear of failure.
Mm,
And I think if we can shape failure differently for them and get them to perceive failure differently, then they tend to not fear it or shy from it. And the problem with that is that if they do, then they're never giving 100%.
Mhm.
They're always holding back because they want to be perfect rather than experience the failure.
mm,
And so it's a balance when you're coaching kids, because sometimes even when you get them to focus on certain things, hey, this is the way you're supposed to do it, they get so focused on being perfect all the time that you'll see
mm,
them stop in the middle of plays to call themselves out. You know,
Right.
and so that's where I always tell kids like, hey, don't make plays, be a playmaker. Like you're too worried about how you're making the play. I was like, no one knows that you caught that ball wrong when you make that out. I was like, you just gotta be a playmaker. Just continue. Just like if you hit a ball over the fence that was a ball and not a strike, no one's coming up to you saying, "Hey, why'd you swing at that? That was a ball." There's gonna be there's gonna be plenty of mistakes, and so it's getting them to be okay with the mistakes and with the failure, and getting them to see failure as a learning opportunity. If they don't take something away from it, they don't get better. So
Mhm.
it's a fine balance because they do, and I feel like especially with female athletes, they want to be perfect all the time. They want to be perfect. They
mm.
want to
All the
do it.
time.
Yeah, they want to do it just right, just the way you told them. And if they don't do it the way you told them, they feel like, okay, well, I just failed in that moment. Getting them to be like, okay, you didn't fail in the moment. You did fine. What's the adjustment that you can make from here, to try to be better next time? But so a lot of times it's failure becomes one of the biggest things, to answer your question, as well as confidence is the other big thing.
Uh, I heard someone smarter than myself say this one time. It's softball is a game of failure, correct? Say you're batting 500. That's really good in softball. But if you get a 50 on a math test, you're still failing, right? So being able to handle the failure and not be comfortable with the failure, but use that to motivate you to do better, but understanding there's going to be errors and there's going to be mistakes. And one of my favorite saying is, it's not the errors, it's the mistakes that will lose you the game.
Yep.
It's the mental mistakes. So,
What are your top 1 or 2 drills for improving framing skills for catchers?
One of my favorite is raking a ball off the ground from low to high up through the zone. So where it's having a upward motion from a rolling ball. So taking a ball that's essentially in the dirt and working that glove motion up into the strike zone. It helps them with timing, helps them with being fluid to receiving balls. So that's definitely one of my favorite. And the other would be similar. It's having a ball on a one of the flat cones in front of you,
Mm.
in front of the catcher, and their glove motion stays low and it knocks that ball off the cone, and then they receive the pitch that's coming to them. Just teaching them to stay underneath the ball versus bringing their glove up to ball level, which then is going to create glove bounce.
getcha. So, bringing it up fluidly so you stop it in the zone rather than having your glove up, come down, get the ball, and then go back up into the zone because that yeah, a blue will see right through that. Well,
Yeah,
most of them.
exactly.
Some of them can't see at all. But
Hey, now.
that's for a different show. Is there ever a time what I know not 6U, 8U, maybe even through high school, but is there ever a time where you think it would be better for the catcher to be calling the pitches for the game for the pitcher rather than whether it's a signal watch or calling out numbers from the dugout saying, 5-3-2, which, fastball low or whatever
Yeah.
it may be. Is there a time where you think that the catcher is ready and knows their pitcher enough where they can call the game rather than the coach calling the game?
Yeah, I think it all depends on the kid and just their game IQ, their attention to
Mhm.
detail. I've had some or have some catchers that I would trust to call games,
Mhm.
but they are very high IQ players. They are players that notice all the little things about hitters and what their tendencies are. But I think catchers can be taught to view the game that way to get to that point
Mhm.
of calling the game. So I think it just depends. I don't think it's so much as an age as it is just when they're at that point of understanding the game well enough to be able to call that game. And obviously it's you got to just take that leap of faith sometimes, and because they're going to make mistakes, just like as coaches, us calling pitches, we learn as we go. Like, oh, I shouldn't have went inside on that batter again because I got put over the fence. you know, um, or learning what sequences work for what pitchers. And that's one of the things that I tend to see quite a bit is coaches calling pitches for pitchers all the same, for every pitcher the same. And
Mm.
so as a catcher, you have to know each of your pitchers. You're going to have to know what they throw well, what they throw, what works best in certain situations, what pitches they have confidence in, what pitches they don't, and not the same pitches all the time. One pitcher may be fine throwing a changeup on a first pitch, another pitcher may not. So it's little things like that of being in tune with your pitchers. I would say that's probably one of the biggest obstacles for catchers to call is just being on the same page with their pitcher. So because the pitcher has to trust the call too. If the pitcher doesn't,
Right.
if they don't
Mm.
trust the call, then they're not going to be able to be as effective with that pitch.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, not exactly what I was thinking, but it makes perfect sense. The catcher's got to be ready. The coach has got to trust him, but more importantly, the pitcher needs to trust the catcher and what they're calling.
What is your biggest myth, either about catching or fielding, that you seem to debunk with either players or parents most often?
That's a tough one. That's a good one though. But I would say I'll give you my biggest struggle that I see as players coming when it comes to fielding out of rec ball into travel ball. Is that in rec ball a lot they're taught to start their throw here, but then you have so many kids that don't understand how they got there or how to get there.
Mm.
And that's where
Mm.
sometimes you'll see kids do pulling motions out of their glove like this, or you'll see kids pull out of their glove and back around here. They'll drop their hand down and come around. So I think, and that's all going to be related to how they transfer the ball from receiving into throwing position. But it's one of the things I see is just that starting point of hero. So I would say that, and the other myth is actually more hitting relating is squishing the bug.
Squish
There's
the
the
bug.
bug.
Oh my
Yes. I
goodness.
remember ate you. Squish the bug.
Swish the bug. Swish the bug.
If someone would like to get in touch with you to book a lesson for their player, how would they get in contact with you?
Well, we are on Instagram, Facebook. I'm sure we should be on a few more platforms, but we're not yet. Or they can call us directly. So either or, if they look up Level Up Softball. Instagram is probably where most of our activity is. So that would probably be the easiest. And there's the contact numbers as well as a link to the website.
We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be back with the seventh inning walk off. All right, welcome back, everybody. Coach Jonathan here with us. We've been talking all about softball, catching, fielding, throwing, how you're doing it wrong, how to correct it, how to do it right. But right now, we're going to do the seventh inning walk-off. So this is where we ask a series of questions, some of them trivia, some of them not, some of them just the opinion of Coach. And we'll go through these here right now. So first question. One essential piece of softball teaching equipment that you cannot do without.
Teamwork. So a T.
A T? A C?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
All right. True or false? A base runner must always slide when a play is being made at the base.
False.
That is correct, but they should, right? They
Yes.
should always hit the dirt when there's a play being made at the base. Almost a trick question, but you got
Yeah.
it right, so that's great. All right. What city was softball invented?
Oh my goodness. That's a good one. I have no clue.
It was Chicago.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
Okay. What was one of the names given to softball in the early days of the sport?
Don't know that one either.
It was indoor baseball, mush ball, kitten ball, playground ball, and diamond ball.
Oh
Yep.
wow. Everything but softball, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah. I believe softball wasn't the official name until the 30s,
Oh wow.
1930s. Yeah. Okay. When a ball is pitched and it hits the dirt, okay, when is it considered a wild pitch, and when would it be considered a pass ball?
I'd say a wild pitch would be something that's not reachable by the catcher.
Not reachable.
Um,
Okay.
not blockable.
All right. So it's always been my understanding, and this this is from all the Game Changer channels that I belong to on Facebook, and everybody's saying, my Johnny, they scored an error, blah blah blah. But someone said on that website that made sense was that if the ball hits the dirt before the plate, and even if it goes through the 5-hole of the catcher, it's a wild pitch because it hit the dirt before the plate. Anything after that is on the catcher. But yeah, the unreachable stuff, like if it's 14 feet over her head, that's obviously a wild pitch, right?
Yeah.
And being the parent of a catcher, if that ball hits in front of the plate, I'm always like, wild pitch. And make sure the Game Changer guy hears me. That's a wild pitch. But I'll let him know it's a pass ball as well. But okay, so
All right. Best vehicle for a softball mom, a minivan or an SUV? Your opinion.
I'm gonna say SUV just because it's cooler.
I like it.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on the SUV. So this is kind of off topic, but I know you're a Mustang guy, right?
Yeah.
You okay? So this question involves Mustangs, and there's 2 RBIs you can get on this. So you can get a hit, and you can get 2 RBIs. Okay. What year did the Ford Mustang debut?
Ooh. I'm gonna say 1960. I want to say 3. I'm gonna say 1964.
Oh, 64. That's right.
Oh gosh, so
Excellent.
close.
Yeah. 1964. I'm going to give you that because you were right there.
Yeah.
Because you had the 19, no problem. 19, and then you had 60, and we're both like, yes,
I was there.
yes. uh, for the RBI on that one, give me a month in 1964 that debuted.
This is gonna be just a wild guess. I'm just gonna say May.
Oh, April,
April.
so
April.
close,
Oh, so
so
close.
close. All right, last chance for an RBI here. How many different design changes or generations has the Mustang gone through? So
What is it?
close.
9?
Yes.
Uh,
That was good though. You were digging deep.
Yeah.
That was awesome. All right, last question. Samara's got your last question here.
And actually this is a true, I think, question I've had lately too, and just kind of seeing different things. And again, I know this can be subjective to age group. So the question is best number of players to have on a travel softball team.
Oof,
And
yeah,
like
that is.
for
Go ahead.
yeah, and I would say let's say 14U for 14 and 16 year, let's say.
I would say roster size, I think, depends a lot on kind of roster personnel and the versatility of players. So I think it's a little tough because I know, for instance, on our team, all of our pitchers, when they're not pitching, they're starters at another spot. But I know that's not always the case, and that's not always the luxury that a
The norm.
coach may have. And also depending on how competitive the team is with going after playing tournaments, big tournaments, what their end season goal. Because obviously, if you're playing a lot of tournaments, then pitching and catching depth definitely matters. So I would say 14, 16s, I would say anywhere from 14 to 16, 17 players, depending on
Right.
that,
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't think about the depth of the catching and the pitching if you're like really going after you're playing a lot of tournaments and they're all double elimination tournaments. You definitely need the depth at catcher and at pitching, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
that
sometimes
that
it's not
yeah.
their day, it may not be a pitcher's day. It may not be a catcher's day. And when it's not, to have the versatility to make those adjustments and not miss a beat, like ultimately that's what you want to be able to do as a team is have the depth to like, okay, well, it's not her day or this isn't her game. She's not feeling it or I could and be able to make that pitching change, be able to make that catching change and not miss a beat, still be competitive. So
I would say that's a great answer. And just having some personal knowledge of your team, yeah, you actually have a lot of versatility. Where there's a lot of teams that have a few POs, which are pitcher only players or position only players, and so that definitely can affect the size of the roster. If you have two pitcher onlys, then you still have to field the rest of your team, including a backup at each spot. So definitely that could change things up. So great answer. Thank you for that.
So, Coach, we really want to thank you for doing this. Just to kind of wrap up, one of the keys that I heard you saying about fielding, catching, throwing, and how to do it correctly is it all starts with the footwork. Am I correct in that? Yeah, footwork,
absolutely.
footwork, footwork. Getting
Yep.
around the ball, where feet position. Um, so that's good. I honestly didn't think about that, and that is fantastic information. And I'm sure everybody that hears this will be like, "Oh, footwork. That makes sense." Susie, get out in the yard. We're gonna start doing some footwork.
Yeah, no, we
And
we we
one
love
last
footwork.
And one last plug for Level Up Fast Pitch Lessons. Handle is level_up_fast pitch_lessons on Instagram. Go on there and book your lesson today. Jonathan, thank you for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you guys. That was awesome.
Rob, I think you have a couple other things to add.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody out there for the ways to find us. You can go on www.dspn.online. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, and on Instagram at DSPN Plus. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, whichever one of those social media things wants you to do. Please do. It helps Helps the podcast, helps the channel.
And thanks again to Ryan Contractors for their support and sponsorship of this podcast.
So I'm Rob D.
I'm Samara. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of DSPN Softball Central Podcast.
Till next time, put the ball in play. You never know what's going to happen. Ciao.